Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Cindy McDonald, and I'm with the AICEP Commission. And today I'm talking with Deborah Davis-Groves of Austin, Texas, about her experience in becoming a CEP. Welcome, Deb.
Thank you, Cindy. I'm excited to be here.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Why was becoming a CEP important to you?
I didn't have the background in education that I think a lot of people have in the IEC business. And so when I was approached at the possibility of becoming a certified educational planner or CEP, I decided that that might add great value to me and to my business. It would legitimize me, for lack of a better way of saying it, and take me to a different level of me trying to become who I wanted to become.
I think that's a really great point for people to understand. What were your concerns when you applied to become a certified educational planner once you found out about this?
Well, so my biggest concern, I think, was the fact that the time commitment to try and study for it, right? There's that. You know, I had the colleges down, so that wasn't an issue. I had met all the other requirements, but it was just that study factor, so that was one. Two, I think the other biggest piece was that I had seen other people take the CEP test at a conference, you know, and you pay so much for a conference, and you want, you know, when I go, I want to participate in all the college tours, I want to participate in the pre-conference, or, you know, I definitely want to get as many of the sessions in as possible. And I had seen several people who had taken it at the conference, and they just looked like death warmed over. They didn't have time to participate in everything, and I thought, that was my biggest concern. It's like, I really would prefer not to take it at a conference. And if it was possible to take it in Austin, that would have been, you know, what I would have preferred.
And so how were your concerns handled by AICEP? What did they do to help you with that?
Oh, it was great because Steve Antonoff, of course, is such a great friend and mentor, right? And he had reached out to me again. He goes, Deb, let's get this done. Let's do it. And I said, Steve, is there any way that I could do this in Austin? That would just make life so much better. I think it would take the anxiety out of it a bit. In addition to, it would just make sure that the conferences that I attend, I would get the full value of those. And so Steve was great. He goes, you know what, let me check into it. And so then he was able to find someone in Austin who was a CEP and agreed to proctor my test. And that just sealed the deal. That's where I knew, okay, now I can get this done. And the other nice thing was that I could do it more on my time frame, where I knew that I had kind of a not as busy time, so I could really focus on studying.
I think that's a really valuable aspect to share, and shows that the commission is dedicated to us as consultants and making our professional opportunities as flexible as possible. So being able to go, and I know I've proctored the exam here in Central California, and I think that's really good advice, is to try and take the exam at a time other than a conference, because of all the different factors that you identified. You know, you have control over the time, you have an opportunity to really fully be involved in the conference without having extra aspect of having to do the CEP exam. So what tips do you have for preparing for the CEP exam?
I would say if you can, one, do it in your home area, that would be great. We have offered it to our Austin IEC group because now there are 3 of us that are CEPs. So it's like, if we can be your proctors, and if AICEP approves it, then we're all in to try and help that. So that's one. 2 is just obviously finding the time that is probably, I mean, as if any of us have a least busy time, but there are some times that are more of a lull, right? So there's that. And 3, I think, it's just figuring out your game plan for studying, just like you used to, you know, in any of your educational backgrounds things. I had, you know, my cards that I had memorized. I had my forms that I had set up for all my college tours. It was just a matter of memorization and just really trying to, like, think about my cases that I had done working with my students. My family was thrilled when I was done, though, because I was driving them nuts with trying to get it all memorized and just kind of really have a solid uh, basic information load in my brain. So they were thrilled when it was all over with.
So now that you've accomplished that goal, what would you say are the benefits that you've see from having completed that?
I think the greatest benefit is, one, again, it has, I think, legitimized me because I didn't come from an education background. So there's that. Two, I think it has really been a benefit because whenever we do pitches to families, right, that is one of the things that I include. I'm one of 3 CEPs in the Austin area, and I think one of 10 in the state of Texas, which means that we've gone to an extra level, that other layer of really trying to become very professional in our line of work. I think especially for my dads who are, like my doctors or my, professor, those folks, it's like that really speaks to them. And I didn't know from a standpoint of, for some reason, for me, it just made a difference. It was like, I've earned this. I've worked hard for this, right? And so there was just that pride that I had that just really spoke volumes for me.
I think that's a very important aspect too, and it shows pride in the work that you do, pride in our profession, and it builds some credibility and some for the families and the communities that we serve. It elevates our profession. So, Deb, thank you so much. This has been so helpful, and we appreciate you sharing your thoughts and your experiences in becoming a CEP.
Thank you for allowing me to share my story.
Well, welcome. My name is Cindy McDonald, and I am talking today with Patricia Namey of Austin, Texas, and we're talking about her experience in becoming a certified educational planner. Welcome, Patricia.
Thank you. Thank you.
So glad to have you here. Tell me, why was becoming a CEP important to you?
Well, it really seemed like the next logical step in my career. I wanted a way to quantify my experience beyond my professional memberships and beyond my college counseling certificate. And secondly, I had tremendous respect for those colleagues who were already CEPs. Their level of professionalism and their expertise spoke volumes to me. They exemplified excellence paired with a genuine kindness that naturally attracts followers. So that was another reason. And I wanted the highest recognition I could have in my profession, and the highest level of accountability. And I wanted to be able to offer that to families in a way that would really garner their confidence in the value of what I bring to them. And then lastly, I think the CEP was a designation that was more like a capstone project for me. It's a way to challenge myself. It was the culmination of all of my credentials and experience.
I think that's a really good way of explaining that and putting that together. So as you were preparing and thinking about doing this, what were some of your concerns about that you had when you applied to become a CEP?
Right. Well, initially, considering the exam process, the application process, preparing for the exam seemed daunting to me. And finding the time was quite challenging. And then that little voice of self-doubt. I've been doing this forever, over 12 years. Would I be able to pass the exam?
So how were those concerns? Did you share those concerns with the commission, and how were they handled?
Well, I think that, yes, I think I shared some of them, but they were handled perfectly. And I was very fortunate. I think I had Steve Antonoff, who walked with me through this process. He was extremely kind and generous with his time. He was very patient. He explained the process, and he helped me to reframe the process. Instead of seeing it as this massive, application process and gathering of information and reviewing my campus visits, he helped me to break it down into these different pieces, sequential pieces that would build on one another, and that they were self-paced, that I was really in control of, how much time I needed for part one, how much time I needed for part two, and how much time I needed to prepare, and even how much time I needed to take the exam, and when and where to take the exam. And so he made it seem really doable. So he helped me look at it differently. He helped me know that I was in control of the time. And then he ignited a confidence in me that I will always be grateful to this gentleman, because he spoke to me in a way that elicited confidence. He brought out the best in me, and he reassured me that, I already had everything I needed. And he kept checking back in with me. He made himself available to me. It was awesome.
And we're very fortunate Steve was one of the founders of the commission, and he does exemplify all of those things. And inspiring that confidence, I think, is one of the most important things that he can do and that we can do through the commission too, because we don't always have that confidence in ourselves, but having someone who can inspire that is really key. So what are some tips that you have for preparing for the CEP exam?
Well, number one, I would seek the counsel of the CEP board. Seek out a mentor or someone like Steve. I know that he represents many other similar individuals with generous spirits and that will cheer you on to success. And then I would just think of the process in chunks. Don't think of it as, oh my gosh, I have to get all of this together. When am I going to do this? Think about, this is part one, this is part two, this is part three, this is part four. And remember that you control the time, that you can self-pace yourself. This doesn't have to be in 6 weeks. It can be 6 months or that sort of thing. And then remember that you're ready. You're ready. You have everything you need. And no one's trying. I think one of the things that was so helpful is that you all were so transparent in what was expected and how the exam would be, what it would be about and how it would be evaluated. And that it wasn't about tricking or eliminating you. It was about helping you rise to this next level. It was awesome.
Thank you. That's very good to hear. And those are very good tips for sharing, Patricia. So what are the benefits now that you've accomplished this, you've met this goal that you set, and what do you see as the benefits for yourself of having accomplished that?
I think there are numerous benefits. I think there were surprise benefits, but I think that it actually gave me the confidence to enter into more of a global conversation with other colleagues, peers, about what's happening in higher ed. I think that it helped me understand better because it's so interdisciplinary. I think the process in itself is a great exercise to stop, reflect. It became very interdisciplinary for me, and understanding history and trends. And that's kind of not where it's sort of a surprise result of this, but just the level of professionalism that I feel like I have stepped into, and more of a global conversation. And I think that it does assure families, clients, students, that I have held myself to the a high level of accountability, and that I'm striving to bring them the most current, pertinent, accurate information, and with a high level of integrity. Yeah.
Very well spoken. Very well said. That's wonderful. Well, thank you, Patricia. This has been very illuminating and educational. Thank you for your time, and congratulations again on being a CEP. How long have you been a CEP?
I believe it was fall 2014.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Well, you enjoy the rest of your week, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.